Broadcasting live from our Platinum Place studios here at North Ridge in Accra. Good evening. This is News Tonight here on GHOne TV, and I am Tutua Danso. A look at the top stories this evening. And coming up in the broadcast, National Food Suppliers Association threatens to picket at the Education Ministry over government's failure to clear outstanding arrears owed them. Teacher trainee wants colleges shut down after 3 months of no show in their schools, while SETAC calls off meeting to decide on next line of action. In business this evening, Bank of Ghana maintains policy rates at 29% for third consecutive time. On the foreign front, Britain rescinds decision to challenge the arrest of Israeli Prime Minister. There are details of these and many other stories coming up in this broadcast. Do stay. So much for choosing us. Now, the National Food Suppliers Association has served notice of its intention to picket at the premises of the Ministry of Education over unpaid arrears. Now, the food suppliers say the government has failed to pay them about 7 months' arrears. According to the association, the decision to protest has become necessary as a result of what it describes as the government's deliberate attempt to frustrate operational activities of the National Food Buffer Stock Company to the disadvantage of the suppliers. Now, joining me in studio is the spokesperson for the National Food Suppliers Association, Kweku Amedume. For more on this development, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Now, why do you intend to protest at the Education Ministry?
Yes, I'd like to say good evening to your viewers out there. It's unfortunate that we should always come to TV to demand for money that we have worked for. And not only that, this time we're coming out to demand for justice because of some dubious deductions that the state institutions have resorted to. They have resorted to deducting money without what is agreed upon by the arrangement we have with them. We know that when we take foodstuffs to the designated places that we've been asked under the contract to do, we would have to be paying 3% of withholding tax. Apart from that, we are not asked, or we are not supposed to deduct anything. They are not supposed to deduct anything from our money. But here is the case.
What is the current status?
The current state is a situation where buffer stock, after taking the 3% withholding tax, takes another 3% in some instances, and some other instances take 4%.
4% apart from the taxes.
Apart from the taxes they are taking, and they do so with impunity. They do so without giving us any explanation as to why they are touching our money. This is not only a case we have with buffer stock. We have situations where the contract price upon the period due for them to pay us, they give us half of the price of what they are supposed to pay us. Meanwhile, they went to take the total amount from government, and then they slash the money into two and give us half.
Now, for purposes of clarity,
yes,
what was the total amount and what is the deduction that you're talking about?
I'm talking about a deduction from the sales, the contract price that they're supposed to give us. You know, when we
and what is the contract price?
The contract price, for instance, the case of milk that I'm talking about is 107. Then 107 Ghana cedis, 107 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
And now when it was time for us to be paid, we were given 57 cedis. It's for about 5 years we've been trying to take that money from buffer stock. It's been proving very difficult. The current situation that we have in our hand that is so serious has to do with the one with GCS. GCS has retained 20% of suppliers' money with no justification, without any communication to the suppliers as to why such monies have been taken from the suppliers' money. My sister, I supplied 4,000 bags of maize to Ashanti region, Greater Accra region, and Volta region. When I was due for payment, I was taking a tax component almost about 70,000 Ghana cedis, and then you atrociously, wickedly deduct another hoping 300,000 cedis from my money without telling me why you're retaining my money.
That constitutes the 4% that you talk
Yes,
about.
I'm not talking, I'm only giving my case as a particular reference.
Okay.
But this is done across all the suppliers who have also done with GCS who are not in the good books of the woman. The CEO for some time now has refused to see us. We could go and sit there for hours. We would see her coming out to call somebody, invite somebody into her office, and then walk over us. On several occasions, she refuses to see us. Now, it has gotten to a time when we go to ask where she is, we want to talk to her. The receptionist, demeanor and composure tells you that, okay, I will tell you what I told you the other time, that she's not available. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
You see, these people occupying these public offices must know that they owe public responsibility, and they must do anything they do for the benefit of the public. I mean, for the public good.
But I just want to find out, have you in any way tried to find out if the Education Ministry has released the funds to buffer stock?
We have written letters.
What
The
has been
money
the
has been
response?
released.
To
They have
buffer stock?
Yeah, the money has been, see, let me clarify the issues here. The contract undertaken by commodity exchange with buffer stock, commodity gives 50% of the supply of foodstuff to buffer stock, and then buffer stock also does 50% of the total supply. Let me be very, very clear on it. I'm talking about the total food supply to support the free SHS policy. Buffer stock does 50%. Commodity exchange also does 50%. So we, the suppliers, are the people who go to source for the food items and then supply in the name of this commodity to companies, and they pay us. However, it is Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education that gives the money to the two institutions to pay us. So when they go to claim the money from these institutions, they come back to sit in their offices and take pen and paper and determine how much to deduct with their own discretion, so frivolously done without telling us how and why they arrive at those deductions. And I think this is so dubious with the reason that they are not even prepared to sit with you and give you explanations. When you walk to them, they don't want to talk to you. You see, they think that those of us who have decided to sell maize, those of us who have decided to go into agriculture, we are less of human beings. And so when you walk to them in their offices, they look at you because they occupy public offices, air conditioned, everything with the leisure. They feel you are not human. And that's how they will treat you like this. I am the only younger person you would see among the suppliers of this age. Almost all the suppliers are of 60, 65, 70. And they have done this several years before the introduction of the free SHS. These are people who, when you ask them to go and supply, government doesn't give them money. They pre-finance with loans that they took from bank with collaterals. And some go to borrow these foodstuffs from the farmers, and they promised that they were going to pay back. So if the money has delayed for 7 months and you are bringing it back, you shouldn't subject those monies to dubious deductions.
Okay, so briefly, now you haven't received the responses that you're looking out for, so you're planning to protest. When will that be?
We're doing a press conference on Monday.
Okay.
So we want to take our time for us to be able to put our issues on paper. So when I give it to you, take your time to understand. So when that day comes and they haven't responded to us positively, and we decide to take the step further, you would agree with me and come and support me. This time, when we come in to pick it, we come with our foodstuffs.
Okay.
Because we deal in foods. So I bring maize, other person brings belimon and all those things. We cook wherever we find ourselves demanding for our money.
Okay.
Because we don't have peace at home.
Okay.
We will sit wherever we occupy and demand for our money.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Kwesi Amedume speaks for the national... Koku Amedume, I beg your pardon, speaks for the National Food Supplies of Ghana. Now, students from the various colleges of education in the central region are calling for their schools to be closed down after 3 months of no-show from their tutors. The students lament the strike has left them stranded, with the absence of teaching and learning in the colleges having a negative toll on their academics.
Students of Asin Fosu College of Education describe the impacts of the strike on them after 3 months of agitation by the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG. With none of the syllabus completed since resumption of school, the trainees have now resorted to using teaching and learning periods for general cleaning, sleeping or idling around. The students find this a waste of time as they remain stranded on campus, not knowing what to do, hence calling for the shutdown of the schools.
Since we came to school this semester, we haven't been able to do anything progressive in terms of academics. We may have the books we are supposed to use for the semester, all right, but some of the courses, unless a lecturer takes you through them, we would plead with the government to attend to their needs.
Strike we are higher bebre. Most of us yentumi nsuade on our own. Nti yesre abane se ontua teachers nika na omombra na omomechre ade na higher pa.
We've been on campus for about 2 months now, and we haven't even met a lecturer just for once for him to be able to give us even the course outline for a particular course.
Strike in India no kwanya many money unkoye. Because I got teachers no around that cabana on we teaming I cover some way but so many around yakasa no forces see be soon. Me say me look as I say you need to want to cram in here. But the teacher wa ha or be church room to call first one no what you see. Ntiama your challenge.
The Quality Assurance Officer for Asin Fosu College of Education, Fifi Eninfo, told GHOne News they are not ready to resume work until their demands have been met.
That particular award that the National Labour Commission made was not being adhered to. So it was then and then realized that no, we are being fooled. And we realized that you have to speak the language the government will understand. Hence, our strike. As we speak now, I can't say today or tomorrow because we only want the government to do what the National Labour Commission said.
Now, let's still stay on the CTAG strike because majority of students at the SDA College of Education in Kufuor Asokore have abandoned campus due to the protracted strike by the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. Now, the final year students, perhaps the worst affected, are anxiously biting their nails, praying their dissertation supervisors will return and guide them to the finish line.
The industrial action, which began on June 14, is in response to government's refusal to implement CTAG's arbitral award and conditions of service. The situation deteriorated further when the government decided to freeze the July salaries of CTAG members, prompting a complete withdrawal of their services. As a result, SDA College of Education has seen a mass exodus of students. A visit to the campus revealed that only a few students, mostly first-year students, remain. Lecture halls were deserted, with some being utilized by senior high students for their studies. Male students were seen playing volleyball, expressing their indifference to the lecturers' absence, with some even chanting that they are enjoying the break.
First of all, strike in the buy from because school on more presentation near class near baby and so yeah, but striking and so by yeah, mama who me talent what I say can you strike and without a strike and coming to me talent in PDC me keeper. What I say, born here, ball, B ball, what I say. First, basketball, I mean, you good, what I say, but you say, no, basketball, the bias, no. Yeah, but I'm a hubo.
Sechi Samson Jr., the SRC president of SDA College of Education, stated that students are stranded on campus.
This strike came about a month and more. We were not expecting this. When we first experienced it, we thought that it would be a 1 week something. But unfortunately, it has extended to about a month and 2 weeks. And even today that we are having council meeting by CTEC, we don't know what will be the outcome of it. My students are stranded. I can say that about 80% of students are home now. which is a problem to us.
Chair Finihas, former SRC organizing secretary, noted that many fourth-year students have been unable to complete their dissertations due to the lack of supervision from their striking lecturers.
Students have left stranded on campuses, and then also we don't have any guidance that will be very crucial to our academic pursuit. So it has really affected us. For 400 students to be precise, they are actually embarking on a project work. And these lecturers are the same lecturers that we're supposed to have a tete-a-tete with them so that we could know what we could do about the project work. But they are on strike.
Meanwhile, female students have lamented the negative impact of the strike and are calling on the government to resolve the impasse swiftly.
It has affected me negatively. I've not even been able to open my book to learn because I don't know what the course is all about.
We just wake up, we work, we sleep. And those we having the notes as seniors' notes. And most of our seniors are not on campus because of the strike. So basically, it's mostly the Form 1s that are on campus. But our seniors, they've left to the houses. So it's very difficult for us to get notes to learn. So we are just here working, sleeping.
Despite the ongoing strike and students' inability to complete their project work, the college has set August 1, 2024 for its congregation ceremony, with the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, slated to be the guest of honor.
Now, away from the Eastern region, the Central and Western Regional SITAC chairperson, Dr. Bosun Senyefia, has maintained their strike action cannot be called off until the concrete steps are reached with their employers. It has been over a month since executives and members of all 46 Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana declared an indefinite strike effective Friday, June 14, 2024, over what they termed the government's bad faith approach to issues of conditions of service. Dr. Senyefia, who spoke to GHOne News, says they do not mind sacrificing their salaries withdrawn by government to ensure their demands are met.
There's no negotiation going on. You see, the arbitral award actually brings an end to all negotiations. When you talk arbitration award, is an end to all negotiation between the aggrieved party and the employer. So that's why NLC comes in to issue, arbitral award. So the arbitral award is binding on the government to actually implement. So that's where we are now. There have been several engagements, but we want to have physical presence of our needs, demonstrated and then felt in our.
Now, let's still place focus on education this evening because recent events of deaths in senior high boarding schools have ignited a fierce debate on the disturbing trend of alleged medical negligence in some schools. Now, this comes after alleged negligence of school authorities led to the death of 4 students just this year. The phenomenon has raised serious concerns about the responsibilities of school authorities to ensure the well-being of students, prompting urgent calls for better accountability and improved healthcare in schools. You will recall that on February 5, 2024, a first-year student at Ebri Girls Senior High School in the Eastern region lost her life after allegedly being denied medical attention by the school nurse. Just a week later, the parents of Kester Vaje, a 19-year-old student at Achims Radio Senior High School, accused the school authorities of refusing to grant their son permission to seek medical help. Now, when he got ill, which ultimately led to his death, Kester was reportedly told he did not appear ill to warrant an exeat. Now, on February 20, a 17-year-old student at the Kalpohin Senior High School in the Eastern region died after the housemaster allegedly failed to provide timely medical assistance. In the latest incident, Theophilus Ansah, a final-year science student at the Ghana National College in Cape Coast, passed away following a brief illness. Now, his family has alleged that negligence by school authorities contributed to his untimely death. These recent tragic events in senior high school boarding schools have once again sparked conversations about the responsibilities of school authorities in safeguarding students' well-being. Now, it is for this reason that the non-governmental human rights organization Child Rights International is calling for essential policy reforms to modify the exit regime system and upgrade medical facilities in the various secondary schools. Now, the executive director of Child Rights International, Bright Appiah, spoke to the media on the developments.
There is no clear policy and guidelines regarding the operationalization of the exit system. So the issuance of those has just been at the discretion of the system as to determine what issue that they want to issue the exit on, and on what they can refuse, you know, and it has become a discretionary power that they do exercise in the lives of our children, and we think that that should not happen. It's a regime to regulate the conduct of children. It's a regime to maintain a certain level of discipline. So we expect that those things would also be taken into consideration when they issue the exit, especially where the school knows that they owe children the duty of care. So you do not use your own discretion to determine how to issue exit, but we feel that the issuance of exit to have a regulation, and there's the circumstances under which those things must be issued must cut across. We also realize that sometimes when students go there to access medical care, they don't meet anybody there. They meet their own colleagues who are manning the place, and their own colleagues, they are not professionals to be able to know what is happening. So sometimes they dispense certain drugs to their own colleagues to take without any medical direction. And for me, that is dangerous, and our system should be able to look at that and bring it to a level where it can protect the interest of our children. We want to say that, yes, the call that we have received from the family, we will definitely take the steps that is needed to protect the welfare of our children and to make sure that such things do not happen in our secondary schools.
Well, let's have a conversation on this development, because joining us for this is the Deputy Public Relations Officer of the National Council of Parents Teachers Association, Irene Sam. Thank you so much for your time, madam.
Thank you very much, my dear.
Great. This is quite a disturbing one, but let me just find out from you what you make of it.
Thank you very much. Let me say good evening to your cherished viewers as well. Let me commensurate with the bereaved family, and let me say that we are so saddened and it's so disheartening that a parent will have to bury the son or the daughter. It is so disheartening. So on our party as a council, we commiserate with the bereaved family, and we pray for comfort unto them. So in moving forward, this issue has escalated over the years, and I can remember that we were really exposed to the kind of healthcare our children are privy to during the COVID era. You know, COVID era, when children were sick, they have to be given some attention. So they make sure that the various clinics or the infirmaries were in position, and then they had some kind of health professionals manning the various infirmaries to help, give health care when the need arises. But as soon as COVID was over, we realized that most of our infirmaries were closed. And as the Child Rights International man said, most of them are being manned by students, which shouldn't be the case. I can remember most of the schools, they have health professionals on the PTA payroll, whereby the PTAs employ health professionals to man the various school infirmaries. But we realize that it is not all the schools that have the infirmaries in position, and some of them are also not functioning. Now, on the issue of exit, we know that the teachers or the house staff, they are not health professionals. So when a child complains of any form of ailment, they have to make sure that immediately the child access health care, because you can't ascertain whether the child is sick or not. But then when the child comes to complain to you, you have to make sure that the child access health care. And we also want to believe that the teachers in the school or the house staff, they are as well parents. We leave our wards in their care. And I don't want to believe that they will only look on when our children are sick and they will not attend to them. So that issue too must also be addressed. But we are calling for a review of how we seek healthcare in the various senior high schools, so that these kind of things should not go on. And as a council, we have collaborated well with school authorities over the years. We have worked with the school authority, the teachers as well, making sure that our children are safe in the various schools. So in this regard, we are also calling for a review, and then pragmatic efforts must also be put in place so that such things could be avoided.
Now, when you say you're calling for a review, what exactly do you expect the stakeholders to do about the current regime, the exit regime?
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that when a child comes to complain of any form of ailment, whether it be headache or whatever, because the school staff are not health professionals, they should just make sure the child access health care immediately. And the first point of call could be the school infirmary. And then if it becomes so emergency or whatever, then they can progress to the nearby hospital before the parents in charge or the parents are called upon to come in. And this is where the PTAs has also worked so hard over the years. In terms of this issue, they call upon the PTA chair in the various schools so that they can also help speak to the parents to also come aboard. But you see, you can't just issue exit without consulting parents. Exit should be issued when parents have also been concerned about it. They are in the known that my child is not well, therefore I'm giving an exit. But you see, in terms of health grounds, even look at the distance where the child is coming from. If you should issue an exit, and then the child needs a proper health care immediately.
Irene, I don't mean to cut you, but let me hold you on briefly and engage the Executive Director for IFES, Dr. Peter Ansi, because he's also joining us for this development. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you and good evening.
Absolutely. Now, what is your assessment of the current exit regime in senior high schools?
Well, one of the things that I'm trying to do is to analyze issues and then look at the various alternatives to be able to address it perfectly. I think that the problem with the health issues and the death of our students in the school is not an exit problem. It is first and foremost the ability of our schools to have what we call the sick bays or the infirmaries. If we have these things operational in our schools, the first point of call when a student reports sick is that he is taken to the infirmary. If the professional there at the infirmary ascertains that the child is in a critical
Well, your line is not too stable, so let's just cross over and speak to Irene, who was sharing her thoughts on how or the expectation she has with regards to the reforms of the exit regime system. Irene, if you can hear me, kindly go on with your points.
All right, thank you very much. So I was saying that before an exit is issued on terms of medical grounds, the parents are called upon, you see, but we have to look at the distance here and look at the particular ailment. And since the teachers are not health professionals, we are opting that the first point of call should be the school infirmary. If only that school infirmary is functional, then from there they can pick it up from there before they access healthcare, the nearest hospital available, before the parents can be called upon. And then if maybe the situation escalates, then an exit can be issued. The child can be taken home to ascertain or to have a healthcare delivery. So we should look at all these things, the time frame, the distance of the person, and then whatever the ailment may be. Since the teachers cannot ascertain that, the first thing they have to do when a child complains of any form of ailment is to help, send the child to the infirmary first, if infirmary is functional, and then forward it to the nearest hospital before exit or whatever issues come to play here. And I've seen most PTAs, fronting this kind of things. We have something like in the various schools like emergency support fund, which you use to convey students on our wards when they have this kind of health condition to ascertain health care before the parents are called upon, and then all the other expenses are being paid.
Irene, I don't know if you paid attention to Dr. Peter Anti when he was speaking, but he says that he does not believe that the current exit regime is a contributing factor for these supposed or alleged medical negligence. How do you react to that?
Yes, I must say that it is a two-way affair. First of all, having our functional infirmaries, and then secondly, looking at our exit regime or exit and system, how and when we issue it, on what grounds do we issue that kind of exit. So it's a two-way affair here. But the first thing is that we should have functional infirmaries so that children can really have access to healthcare immediately before any kind of help can be given in terms of hospitals or any other health facility available.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Irene Sam is the Public Relations Officer of the National Council of the Parents Teachers Association of Ghana. Now let's head to the quarters of the judiciary because the Criminal Division of the High Court in Accra has dismissed an application from former Chief Executive Officer of the Public Procurement Authority, PPA, Ajeni Boateng Ejay, for the release of his passport to enable him take his 6-year-old daughter to the United States of America for summer camp. Now, the court presided over by Justice Marie-Louise Simon said no exceptional or serious grounds have been advanced for the court to exercise discretion in his favor. Ajeni Boateng Ejay, the former CEO PPA, has been charged by the Office of the Special Prosecutor on 4 counts each of using public office for profit and indirectly influencing the procurement process to obtain an unfair advantage in the award of procurement contracts. He pleaded not guilty to the charges contained on the charge sheet filed on April 17, 2024, and granted bail 5 days later on April 22, 2024. Now, when his plea was taken, as part of his bail conditions, he was to deposit a passport with the registrar of the court until otherwise determined by the court. On July 8, 2024, lawyers of the accused filed an application at the court for his passport to be released to enable him take his 6-year-old child, who is also a citizen of the USA, for a 2-week summer camp. Counsel for the applicants argued that this has become necessary for him to travel to the USA with his 6-year-old girl child, who is also a citizen of the USA, to participate in a 2-week summer camp. Now, Ms. Adelaide Kobri Wood, a principal prosecutor of the OSP, however, vehemently opposed the request on the basis that it discloses no exceptional circumstances to warrant its grant in order to vary the orders of the court as per the bail conditions. The OSP argued that the applicant has failed to demonstrate what accounts for the necessity to send the 6-year-old child to the United States of America. You're still watching News Tonight here on GHOne Television. We'll be back with more stories after this break. You're welcome back from the break. This is still News Tonight here on GHOne Television. Let's do business now. In business this evening, the Bank of Ghana has maintained its policy rate of lending to commercial banks at 29%, marking the 3rd consecutive time the central bank has held a steady rate. Now, according to the central bank, the decision aims to balance economic growth with inflation control in Ghana's economic landscape. There are more details in this report. During its 119th meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, the Bank of Ghana disclosed that GDP growth for the first quarter of 2024 was stronger than expected. Addressing the media, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, explained that economic activities remained resilient despite a generally tight policy stance. He noted that consumer and business confidence softened, driven by the rapid exchange rate depreciation observed in May and high food prices in June 2024.
Economic activity remained resilient in the context of generally tight policy stance. This is shown by the latest GDP data released by the Ghana Statistical Service and the subsequent upward revision of growth estimates. Similarly, high-frequency indicators of economic activity, which are more recent, suggest stronger growth outcomes.
He emphasized that although inflation is expected to remain within the target range, risks are slightly tilted to the upside, necessitating a strong monetary policy stance supported by robust fiscal consolidation.
On price developments, there is some uncertainty regarding the inflation path for the year, given the recent exchange rate pressures, upward adjustment in utility tariffs, and increases in export fuel prices. The above developments have resulted in a slightly elevated inflation profile for the year. Even though inflation is expected to remain within the target year band, the risks are tilted slightly on the upside. This will require maintaining the strong monetary policy stance, supported by strong fiscal consolidation efforts, including remaining vigilant to ensure that the end-year inflation objectives are achieved. Given these considerations, the committee decided to maintain the policy rate at 29%.
The committee also observed that the Ghanaian cedi came under pressure in the first half of the year, particularly in May 2024, but has since been stabilized. Now, fast food enthusiasts in the Ring Road area can now revel in delight as Pizza Man Chicken Man, the renowned indigenous fast food brand, has inaugurated a new branch in the vicinity. This brand, celebrated for its pizza, fried rice, spicy chicken and authentic Ghanaian jollof rice, is expanding the fast food industry by providing value for money to its customers.
Since its establishment in January 2018, Pizza Man has experienced a remarkable growth, boasting over 60 branches across the country, thereby creating thousands of employment opportunities for Ghanaian youth.
At Pizza Man Chicken Man, future can be next week or next 2 weeks. In fact, with respect to the regional expansion, we are actually working behind closed doors to open 32 stores, with 6 being in Accra, 2 being in Kumasi, and the other 24 being outside Accra and Kumasi. So we are starting from Bolga to Tamale, even to Aflao, to Takwa, Cape Coast, and all the other towns you can think of. So hopefully by the end of third quarter, we should be done with all the 32 stores that we'll be opening. Yeah.
Well, that does it for the broadcast. Thank you so much for your company. For more news updates, log on to starfm.com.gh. I am Tutu Adan, so have a good evening.